Hello, team, and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MSP. It's a Ukraine War news update for the 11th of August 2023, or at least the first part thereof. Just to explain to those who don't already know, I'm sure most people do, I'm on holiday, so things are a little bit different. The videos aren't quite as well polished as they usually aren't anyway. But there you go. Right, this is the Ukrainian general staff figures for the Russian losses for the day before. All the usual caveats apply. It gives us some kind of indication of what's been taking place, even if the actual totals aren't necessarily as accurate as could be. But nonetheless, I think they are fairly accurate. That's why I spend a lot of time trying to um, see if there's rationale behind these figures, as we will see going forward. Okay, 580 KIA for the Russians. That is pretty much what we've seen over the last few days. 12 tanks, 15 APVs. It's fairly significant numbers in those categories. The Russians are being attrited quite significantly across the front lines in terms of equipment. 15 artillery systems and 2 multiple launch rocket systems. 15 is not the highest we've seen, but it's still a significant number to lose on a daily basis. And 2 MLRS will hurt as well. And 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems. You can see from the total there that the average is less than 1 a day. So to lose 2 in 1 day is quite significant. I don't know what type of air defense systems they are. We'll look at Andrew Perpetua's video checklist in a second to see what he's totted up. 18 drones. It's not from last night. It'd be the night before. 16 vehicles and fuel tanks. 10 pieces of special equipment. Wow, that is a very high number. Possibly the highest I've seen in the special equipment category. That's usually things like intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, electronic warfare. It can be other things like demining vehicles and so on and so forth. So that is a significant number there. There's some big, fairly large numbers to post that just give this sense of continued attrition of the Russian forces, and that will affect their capability to conduct their own defenses, I guess, across the front lines. Now, this is Andrew Perpetua. He surveys so much video footage on a daily basis to see what's going on, and he tries his hardest to be as objective as possible. These are all the losses I could identify today. I'm not saying these are the only losses. I'm just saying that this is all I could find. And he, as I said, he looks at a lot of Russian sources as well. So this is a real change from yesterday, where we had almost parity yesterday. Today, that is a massive advantage to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians apparently only lost, as far as he could see, 1 APC and 2 civilian pickup trucks. And the Russians, on the other hand, wow. Okay, so we've got 2 engineering vehicles that would feed into the category here at the end of special equipment. So 2 engineering vehicles, a multiple launch rocket system there, Mr. S, that's artillery, and then a lot of tanks, really. 6 tanks, 3 IFVs, infantry fighting vehicles, 3 armored personnel trucks, some trucks, and some civilian vehicles being used by the army as well. So, wow, that is a really bad day for the Russians in terms of equipment. And then you go back to this sheet and you think, okay, yeah, that pretty much does support high losses reported by the general staff in across those categories. An official says Russian forces are burning their dead soldiers' bodies near occupied Melitopol in an attempt to hide their losses. Russian forces buried dead soldiers in occupied Ukrainian territories instead of transporting the bodies to Russia. Ukraine's deputy defense minister said yesterday. Dead Russian soldiers have been cremated almost non-stop near the occupied city of Melitopol in Zaporizhia, according to Hanna Maliar. Quote, residents have been feeling the characteristic acrid smoke for a long time. Russia also transfers the bodies to a local morgue in Kherson Oblast Chaplinka on the Russian-occupied east bank of Dnipro River, added the official. They are being buried in 2 locations, with one covering up to 100 hectares. Again, this goes back to, are these figures somewhat accurate? Arguably, yes. And then another piece of evidence to throw in. a video recorded by a serviceman of the Russian Armed Forces from Yakutia, who spoke about the difficult situation for the Russian Armed Forces on the front line. According to him, units of the Ukrainian army cover Russian positions with cluster munitions from morning to evening. At the same time, there are so many dead that their bodies are not even evacuated. Wow. So that's another piece of the jigsaw. Now let's add a further piece here. This is a Chris Wiki thread. I won't go into the full details. Russian soldiers say they were forced to crawl across minefields, taking huge casualties because their commanders had falsely reported to their superiors that their objectives had already been captured. Those who refused to attack were shot in the legs by their commander. This also, there's another, I saw some footage yesterday of a Russian tank being blown up. And the claim was it was actually being blown up by the Russians as and they were pretending it was a Ukrainian tank getting blown up. And it turns out that they didn't do a good job because you could still see the Z on the tank, and it was a bit of a cock up. This then also reminds me of something someone wrote in a thread on one of my videos yesterday, saying in Vietnam, there was an American unit that went and camped on a hill, and so a lot of this is about self-preservation, for some of these units, I guess. So this in the Vietnam War, this American unit sat on a hill and asked that the Air Force bomb this hill opposite them. They knew there was no one there. They just like, yeah, keep bombing, and it showed to their superiors that they were engaging the enemy, if you like, but they were just sitting on a hill calling in airstrikes. And that allowed them to actually stay safe and stay out of any further engagements. So, these kind of things do happen. Anyway, in an audio message published by the Astra Telegram channel, men from the Russian 15th Guards Motorized Rifle Regiment complained that they were forced to take the so-called mustache. It's a forest belt. We were forced to go to the minefields with our chests. Why are we so driven there? Because the bosses have already reported that they have already taken everything. They say that they had to attack a Ukrainian fortress guarded by 4 machine guns and a mortar. In the course of the skirmish, sometimes a tank comes out. We have to go more than 50 meters across the open ground through minefields and capture 700 meters of forest, a strip. According to the men, in only 20 minutes of fighting, 80 out of 100 were wounded or killed. As for those who refused, the narrator says that their commander, Korsign Uchios, personally shot them in the legs. Relatives say that only 20 survivors have been sent to the Russian concentration rehabilitation center in the basement of the House of Culture inside Sevi, which operates as an FSB-run torture center to remotivate reluctant soldiers. I mean, just wow. The whereabouts is unclear, but stuff like that. Those pieces of the jigsaw are starting. Well, no, not starting. They're building up a picture that we've been seeing for a long time. This is just a bit of footage I think it's worth watching for as Thomas Tyner says, the incredible shockwave. This is a grad, I think, having a catastrophic explosion, and the shockwave and the explosion there, just quite incredible. But anyway, that's a multiple launch rocket system, no longer in existence. So I reported about the Olengorsky Gornyak, the Russian large landing ship that's now in dry dock. Well, we can now see the hole in the side of that caused by the naval drone. That is really significant. I don't know that you're going to be seeing that ship back on the water anytime soon. There's also footage of the Russian tanker that's been providing oil to Syria and supporting their war efforts that was hit as well. And again, I don't think that's going to be used anytime soon to continue to support Russia's war efforts. That's quite a significant hit on the side of that vessel. Right, then, I don't know where to put this, whether this is a strike or what. Odintsovo, Moscow region, what's going on? According to preliminary data, reportedly a warehouse on Severnaya Street is on fire. And this is significant. And there's an awful lot of footage that has come out about this, video on the scene, and it's produced some quite incredible footage. The warehouse turned into a warehouse, as in, where is it? It's gone. Yeah, some pretty significant footage coming out of that. Now, Um, uh, Tim White says, who doesn't like a nice early chapter from the Russia on Fire Chronicles? Odintsova in Moscow region is where Russia has allegedly been intercepting many Ukrainian drones of late. Maybe they accidentally missed last night. So that could well be a drone hitting there, and it could well be an intended target, or it could just be Russia on fire. Just who knows? But that's, Moscow again, feeling the heat of the war quite literally. Um, okay, also, there is in Kaluga an electrical substation on fire. This definitely wasn't due to any Ukrainian drones. What else can we blame? Oh, yes, the local governor says lightning caused the blaze. God must be angry. And actually, this is quite a substantial substation blaze. Not a single day without fires in Russia, says no reports. This time, an electrical substation caught fire in Kaluga, Russia. Now, someone on my threads again yesterday was saying that there is data on explosions, and in 2022, I was not talking about 2023, there were 4 times as many explosions in Russia as the year before. So these are building up. There is a pattern of fires, a trend of more and more fires, bigger and bigger fires taking place up and down Russia and across Russia with an alarming regularity if you are Russian. So, moving on to sort of more distant strikes. Right at the moment, there are air alerts in Ukraine. So for me, I'm in Greece at the moment, and it's 11:15, and I should be down at the beach. So alerts are going on as we speak, and the Russians are attacking. Indeed, I believe that there have been explosions in Kiev. Mayor of Kiev, uh, Vitaly Klitschko, reported that the fragments of a rocket fell on the territory of one of the children's hospitals. No information about victims. In the Obolon district, on the territory of the children's hospital, several pieces of debris fell. Data on victims and destruction is being ascertained. So there is activity in around Kiev, but it's not just Kiev as well. I think Vinnytsia and Khmelnytsky too. So they are trying to hit some of the targets they often seem to go for. Vinnytsia and Khmelnytsky are areas that often get some attention. So Vinnytsia, Khmelnytsky, and then Khmelnytsky is where the airbase that fly where the Su-24s fly from, but there is talk about them actually being positioned in a number of places to stop them getting hit during strikes like that. Right now, explosions have been reported in Moscow. Air defense is reportedly active there, so Moscow is again, uh, under the threat of strikes by drones. Um, and now to move to what happened yesterday. So this is a terrifying moment when Russia fired an Iskander missile right into the city of Zaporizhia in the early evening, with many civilians on the streets. As Tim White is ranting here, animals, war criminals, subhumans. No word does justice to the repeated and deliberate targeting of innocents. I've also seen footage of the double tap in the city. I'll forget the name. Pokrovka recently, where they hit a place and then hit it 40 minutes later when the exactly the same place when the emergency services were operating, and it shows what their mindset is, doesn't it? Sometimes we need a reminder of what war on civilians looks like. Just yeah. And in fact, there's a number of bits of footage coming out about that. Footage from a few hours ago showing the Russian cruise missile striking the Raykurts hotel in the city of Zaporizhia, causing severe damage to the building and parking lot. Emergency and rescue crews are currently on scene, attempting to search for survivors. So, yeah, there's a number of as I say, a number of bits of footage out concerning this. So yeah, it's that that actually sent shivers down my spine, and not good ones. That sound must be so scary for anyone. When you hear that, it's just the sound of terror. Um, just yeah, awful. It's anyway. I just thought it's important to remind people, you know, what strikes on civilian infrastructure looks like. And it looks like and sounds like that. Okay, just moving on to other bits and pieces before the end of this first piece. This is interesting because Mr. Parrot, someone that I've parroted a number of times myself, used as a source. His account has been suspended. A popular pro Ukrainian account with over 36,000 followers has his account suspended from Twitter or X. Mr. Parrot regularly posted combat videos of the war and has been the target of spam reporting for many months by pro Russian accounts, and now he is suspended. I hope this isn't. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Elon Musk and his clumsy policy that equates a criminal with a victim. Uh, I really hope this isn't Twitter really being preferential towards Russian accounts, and I hope this stuff does happen for pro-Russian accounts. But there are a lot of rumors. There's another account that I've used that overnight I had a bunch of um, tweets that I was going to show, and then today they're not there, and the account no longer exists. As in that's been shut down as well. So I hope this isn't uh, you know X or Twitter isn't the battlefield of cyber warfare and becoming another example of Russia's hybrid warfare. I hope that's not the case. Yandex co-founder. So Yandex is the Russian version of Google. Denounces Russia's aggression against Ukraine. I'd like to know where this guy lives actually. Uh, Arkady Volozh, co-founder of Russia's most popular search engine, Yandex, denounced Russian aggression against Ukraine in a statement published by the Russian independent outlet Meduza yesterday. I categorically oppose Russia's barbaric invasion of Ukraine, where I, as well as many others, have friends and relatives, Volozh says. Now, that is huge. Whether that'll get through to the general Russian population, I don't know. And then we have just, I, Julia Davis of Russian Media Monitor does a phenomenal job of translating the propagandists in Russia, saying they're just truly terrible things. I mean, every day I could tell you an awful lot of stuff that they say, but I don't. But occasionally I'll just remind you, like today. So, chap Ishchenko here's fictitious reason for why Ukraine shouldn't exist. I mean, this is just genocidal, isn't it? Kind of like, in a sense, it's a part of Russia that declared itself anti-Russian. So there's no independence for Ukraine. It's simply just part of Russia. He says if Russia can't swallow it whole, it should forcefully split it up. As Vlada Knowlton here says, well, if it's part of Russia, then how can Russia swallow it? It's swallowing part of itself. Anyway, doesn't make much sense. But there you go. It should be swallowed whole or forcibly split up. Yeah, just Russian propagandists. They disgust me. I don't think I can put it any other way. Right, that's the end of the first part of my news for the 11th. Please check out the second part, which will be coming out shortly. Really appreciate all your support. Please like, subscribe, and share, and all that kind of stuff. Toodle pip. Speak to you soon.